Dan and Corey here, welcoming you into Libservative.
The great fundamental issue now before our people. We, the people, cannot turn back.
Yeah, welcome in to another rousing rendition, special Friday night version of Libservative, intellectual idiots fostering political and cultural literacy. He, as always, is Corey Walsh.
He's Dan Griffin.
And Bell the Bodysnatcher, we have an APB out for him. He was supposed to be here. He is not here. We don't know
breaking news. Sorry, I've been trying to get my computer to cooperate for 20 minutes. So if his computer was working, he would only be an hour and 20 minutes late. Well, 2 hours late, technically. Yeah, that's for you, Bell.
That's
I don't like Macs. You guys suck.
Try to do that with your iPhone.
Yeah, try to be on time with your computer with your I don't know, non-Mac computer.
You ever notice how non-Mac people, and I don't have an issue with non-Mac people. It's just when they get like really defensive about the fact that they're not Mac people.
Well, it's because they're constantly seeing memes about green text and people dog shitting phones that aren't iPhones. Like the iPhone community is not doing itself any favors.
We are pretty pretentious. Like we are. There is no lie about that. We are pretty pretentious. But like there's like people that don't have Macs and iPhones. They have like a complex about it. Like, I'm just as cool as you.
Yeah, sorry, I can't take a picture with my phone of the eclipse. That is kind of cool, Like
the new ones can though. The new iPhones can. I will admit this: the Apple is always behind on the camera technology every single time. But they catch up pretty fast, almost every time so far. So
and it works with a phone that works, and has has the blue text message, blue iMessage.
That's Bell's. That's Bell's mentality right there. We do have an APB out for him.
Amber Alert.
It's not the APB sound. We got to get that going along. But this is actually a special episode that we are conducting for you today. Not our typical format where we kind of go over all of the happenings in the news this week. We're not going to make fun of Hillary Clinton for telling us to get over ourselves. We're not going to find the newest fun Trump quote that makes us all laugh, either for better or worse. We're not going to make fun of people who support bombing of children in Gaza or any of those things.
Or tonight terrorists in Gaza, for that matter.
Or pick whichever side you like. Doesn't really matter. Tonight we are going to be going over the big gun control debate from Tuesday night, which we carried here for you on YouTube. Was it Wednesday night? Do I have my days confused? Wednesday night. I'm sorry. So if you haven't seen that yet, I don't think you need to go watch it to necessarily watch or listen to this episode, but we do recommend it. You can find that at on our YouTube channel, Libservative, where we hosted a little watch party here, and some people got mad at me because I was a little too vocal during the debate. So I'm actually going to keep that in mind. I'm going to keep that in mind for the next time because it's a legitimate critique.
Right. But it's just funny because he was watching the replay of the live stream the next day. So he's like just yelling at you, and like we're at work, just getting notifications of him yelling at you. And we're just like, nothing we can do about it.
Can somebody mute the guy in orange?
Yeah, you piece of shit.
I was wearing the same sweatshirt. I was wearing this sweatshirt the night of the debate. So yeah, David Hogg, the anti-gun advocate who was involved
hasn't changed since
the I forget the name of the school, the Nicholas Cruz shooting in Florida. Sorry, I don't have it just in front of me. Has since then been a staunch advocate for gun control. He faced off against the 2020 Libertarian Party vice presidential candidate, also known as the Bazooka Jew, Spike Cohen. And we went into this debate. If you go back and watch our live stream, or I'm sorry, our watch party feed, We made a couple of short order predictions while we waited for the debate to get started. And one of those was just that I think we all had was that Spike was just going to be better prepared for this debate. I made one prediction that I think was absolutely proven wrong, which was that David Hogg was going to go into this debate and throw out some ad hominem attacks and attack Spike Cohen personally. I give David Hogg a lot of credit for the fact that he did not do that. I thought David Hogg was pretty professional. And the reason I'm going to give David Hogg credit here, Corey, before I let you go, is because we're going to spend a lot of time here in this episode talking about all the reasons for why David Hogg was wrong during this debate and why he lost and why Spike Cohen won. So I just want to start off by giving credit to David Hogg in the areas in which I think he deserved to have credit. And one of those things was what I just mentioned, where he didn't attack Spike Cohen the way that I thought he was going to. But also, like, I credit him just for showing up, because David Hogg is the kind of person who has spent a ton of time in his Twitter echo chamber, going on CNN, going on MSNBC, talking about how bad guns are. Guns are bad, guns are bad, guns are bad. And he just, I guess, to appease those people, he never had to do this debate. Right. So I give him credit for actually showing up.
Yeah, I have a lot more respect for him now post doing this, you know. And I'm not gonna, like, me personally, I know you're calling a winner just because I have like a clear bias towards the person who likes to protect guns versus the person that one takes them away. I clearly think I know who the winner was too, which is alluding to Spike Cohen. Like, I'm saying that here, but like when it comes to debates like this, I typically try not to call a winner or a loser, because it's going to be real easy if someone listens to our show and then be like, well, obviously you probably predetermined who you thought the winner was going to be before this. But before that, Libservative Podcast is found on all social media and podcast platforms. Our website is libservativeshow.com. We can be found at Libservative on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, Instagram and Twitter at LibservativePod. Our TikTok videos can be found at Libservative Podcast, and you can reach out directly at libservativepod@gmail.com. Subscribe today.
Don't get bogged down by all the haters out there.
Should we read the bios that we had for...
you have them in front of you?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah, go for it, because I don't have them in front of me.
Okay. Oh, shit. Where the... I just fucking hit it. I just goddamn...
How does this always happen? This is going to be...
Spike Cohen isn't... I know. And then as soon as you butt in to try to cut to cover the dead air, I have it. Every time, too.
It's the most unprofessional show ever made. Go for it.
No, there's worse. Spike Cohen is an American libertarian, political activist, entrepreneur, and podcaster. He began his career as a web designer at the age of 16 and later transitioned to libertarian activism after being diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. Cohen co-owns Muddied Waters Media and hosts 2 podcasts. He was the Libertarian Party's nominee for vice president of the 2020 United States presidential election. His political platform includes reducing national debt, extensive criminal justice reform, demilitarization of the police, and creating police accountability programs. Cohen is also the founder and president of You Are the Power, a nonprofit focused on using solution-oriented activism to grow the liberty movement. Most importantly, to this watch party, Spike is a staunch advocate for second.
Look. Who just showed up.
Well. Call the police. Gang. Call off the Amber Alert.
Call Lily Tang Williams.
Only almost 3 hours late. Well,
the body snatcher is in the house.
He's not even a body snatcher anymore. David Hogg is an American gun control activist who rose to prominence during the 2018 United States gun violence protests. As a student survivor of the Stoneman Douglas High School shooting, he helped lead several high-profile protests, marches, and boycotts. Hogg and a group of fellow survivors started the Never Again movement, appearing in town halls and on television demanding immediate change. They organized and led the massive March for Our Lives protest in Washington, D.C., calling for gun reform. Hogg's activism prompted significant changes, such as raising the age requirement for firearm sales to 21 in the state of California and 4 major retailers. He is also the author of the New York Times bestseller, Never Again, Never Again. A New Generation Draws a Line, which provides an in-depth look at the making of the Never Again movement. Nice little synopsis for both of them. And Bell, you showed up just on time. You know, we're only 10 minutes in. We haven't even began talking about this. And don't you try to slink away. You're going to be on here the whole time. I want to see.
I'm the one who removed him from the feed, Corey, because he needed a punishment. That was his spanking.
He just got put in a penalty box. What, a 15-second penalty box? That's what you did.
I've been listening.
All right. So,
boy, I hope.
I guess what I want to hear first is, boy, I hope he's qualified. I guess what I want to hear first is the takeaways.
Number one, the interpretation of these two men and their interpretation of the Second Amendment was, you didn't even have to hear Spike Cohen's interpretation of the Second Amendment to know that he knew more about the Second Amendment than David Hogg did. I have heard this ridiculous notion before from anti-Second Amendment. I shouldn't even call them anti-Second Amendment people. Let's just call them, the gun control advocacy groups, because they'll all find a way to be like, it's not that I want to take away guns. It's just that I want common sense, that kind of thing. David Hogg's little completely inaccurate trope about the original writing of the Second Amendment stating that guns should be mandatory. There should be a government mandate that you have to own guns it's always been such a stretch to interpret any line in the Second Amendment that way that it's absolutely ridiculous. And it's something that
Oh, perfect. Oh, perfect.
Oh, no.
Man. Dan was fine for the last hour and a half. The whole time me and him were talking on this. And now he freezes in front of 5 whole people. How fucking embarrassing. I'll tell you what, I got a sound for him right now. You ready for this?
Yeah.
All right. It is right. Oh, where did that one go? Jesus Christ. Here, this one's for Dan. I wasn't exactly sure where he was going with the Second Amendment argument, but when the two of them actually talked about it, David Hogg's, there he is. And we lost him again. How embarrassing. Boy. So far, I'm the only one here today that hasn't had any issues. I was here on time.
No, I'm sorry.
My shit ain't cutting out.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. You're good. At least your shit's working now.
Fired up.
You're fired up.
Fired up.
You sound so fired up. I think you fired up. Yeah, there we go. Dan came back so hard. We got 2 of them.
Let's see, why the hell am I in here twice? Yeah. All right. So
you were talking about the different interpretations of the Second Amendment from the 2 of them. And I was just about to get into how David Hogg was saying, he was emphasizing the well-regulated militia. Yeah, drink that bourbon.
Isn't there a thing though? If you read enough into it, there's also there's the well-trained militia, which is what he talks about, but then there's also the untrained militia, which is what Spike Cohen was talking about. And I forget where it's actually at, but it exists.
So the verbiage he used, I don't have it written down.
Yeah.
And so if you remember, Dan, what he said exactly.
I'm going to look it up.
Came to the Second
Which person?
Amendment.
Are we talking about Spike or are we talking about
Spike.
Hogg?
Yes.
Yeah, Hogg. No, talking about Spike.
Yeah, no. So a lot of that was about how back in the day, there actually used to be gun training courses in school. That was just part of what you did. There were shooting ranges in schools. You learned gun safety.
Well, even before that, when the the original Constitution, when the original amendment was written, David Hogg was like pushing hard on the idea that's well regulated, as in I guess regulated. I forget.
Did he interpret that? He interpreted that as government regulated, I believe is what you're suggesting.
I believe so. Yeah.
Because that's what a lot of the anti-2A people do. They talk about well-regulated militia, and they think that verbiage means well-regulated by the federal government, which is not what the fuck it means. Yeah, that's never what it's meant.
We're gonna have to try to just get Spike Cohen on this show because he's so much more eloquent than this mumbo jumbo that we have right
Well, that
here.
was honestly, before you go, that was going to be my next thing, is just like the preparedness of Spike Cohen over David Hogg, which I guess I'm not entirely surprised by, because it's like I was saying earlier before my internet decided to cut out. David Hogg just speaks to an echo chamber all the time. He talks to his Twitter people, and he talks to people like fucking Joyanne Reed, as to where Spike Cohen actually debates people that disagree with him on these matters. So David Hogg is one of those people from like that shit lib echo chamber where he's never challenged on anything. And then when he walks into a debate with somebody like Spike Cohen, who actually knows what the hell he's talking about, it's absolutely night and day. And so when you sit here and you wonder, well, how do you know? I don't think anybody wonders this. Anybody with a brain wonders this. How do you know Spike Cohen won? It's just listen to what each of them said. And I can guarantee you, Spike could have walked into this debate with almost zero prep and would have still wiped the floor with Hogg.
Yeah, he's been having these debates with people a lot longer than
yes,
David Hogg is outside of his echo chamber.
Spike is he's a constitutional master. I mean, he just is. And Hogg, because Spike is the kind of person who's honest about what he recognizes about the Constitution, as to where Hogg goes into reading the Constitution, maybe not the entire Constitution, but certainly the Second Amendment, with a preconceived notion of what he wants the Second Amendment to say, as to where Spike just goes with what the Second Amendment actually says. The truth, right?
So Cornell Law School, when it comes to militia, like in composition in classes, the militia of the United States consists of all able-bodied males at least 17 years of age and except as provided in Section 313 of Title 32, under 45 years of age, who are or who have made a declaration of intention to become citizens of the United States, and of female citizens of the United States who are members of the National Guard. The classes of militia are the organized militia, which consists of the National Guard and the Naval Militia, and the unorganized militia, which consists of the members of the militia who are not members of the National Guard or the Naval Militia.
Okay, fair enough.
Which pretty much counts as volunteers.
Great
Which basically it comes down to that.
Great comment here on Twitch from Cottonmouth. In a nation where an unarmed people fear the government is tyranny, where a government fears an armed citizenry, you have liberty. I don't think there's a better way to put it.
That's a Benjamin Franklin quote.
Yeah, I don't think there's a better way to put it. One of those guys that founded the nation.
Yeah,
and I think that afraid of the federal government.
Like a regulated militia isn't necessarily the government. Nowhere in the Second Amendment does it say that the government is there to regulate it. It's to be regulated amongst themselves, like with training and safety and things like that. Well, and if you talk to any responsible gun owner, those are things that like they pound into your head. Like one of the safest places you will ever be is a gun range, because of the fact that like if you slip up and do anything, there's literally 100 other men there yelling at you who also have guns, telling you not to do that. Whether it's when you accidentally point a barrel a weird way, or if you're not having proper trigger discipline. Like these are all things that when we talk about regulations are there, are things put in place, whether for good or evil when it comes to the government regulations, but it isn't
right. And I'm glad you brought up like a gun range being one of the safest places in the world you can possibly be, because when you think about like the gun control crowd, typically they know nothing about guns. And David Hogg said he was part of the gun club in high school or whatever it was. I believe him when he says that. I'm sure he probably knows a little bit more about guns than does, your typical anti-gun or anti-Second Amendment or pro-gun control person. I believe him when he says that. But what you get so much of, like, you get almost this caricaturization of gun people when you talk to these people. Like, you think they're like fucking Yosemite Sam out with their pistols in the air, fucking firing them in the air, and it just couldn't be any. Yeah, it just couldn't be any further from the truth. It just couldn't be any further from the truth.
Or the pictures.
Like, nobody has more respect for the danger and the power of firearms than gun people do. Go ahead,
Or
Corbin.
the caricature photos that people share on memes, because there are still idiots out there dressed in camouflage
of course.
at protests and
Sure.
stuff, and they have like 15 attachments on their gun, and like they're in an urban environment at like, let's say, a protest, but they have like a 4x scope. You know, and it's like, what are you gonna see like really close to the building 100 feet from you, or attachments that are like the foregrip is like 3 inches from the trigger to where they're holding their gun like this, and it's just like there are doofuses out there just cosplaying and LARPing as militia. Absolutely.
And I think you would both agree that like those types of people make the Liberty and Pro 2A crowd look really bad.
Yep.
Or the people that have pictures where they're like their trigger control is trash. Like I'm not necessarily a gun guy. Like I'm not a gun hobbyist. I think I've said this before on the show. Like I don't really like, I'll go to the range once in a while and just to kind of get my practice in, but I'm not like the kind of person who wakes up on Saturday morning and says, "What do you want to do today? Let's go shoot." Like it's just not my thing. But like I have basic trigger control, guys. I mean, like that's like the first thing that it is like one of the first things you learn in a gun safety course, is it not?
It is
trigger control. Yeah,
you don't put you don't put your finger on the trigger unless you're ready to shoot. You know, like you don't aim the barrel at anything other than things you intend to shoot. You know, like things that Stephen Baldwin or Alec Baldwin should have learned, I guess.
See, they even have fun little sayings like "Don't put your booger flicker on the boom switch," because it makes you remember that shit.
Yeah, that's true. Like that shit you could teach a child when you're first teaching a child gun safety.
Mm-hmm. Hey, that's literally what I told my kid.
Yeah, don't
Don't
put
put
your
that booger picker on that boom switch.
You don't put the
Just
hook.
bullshit.
But so like when they first started, I thought it was interesting when because Hogg came in and it was Hogg. And he came in like it's what seemed like kind of like sort of like a politician. He was conceding in the beginning, trying to find common ground.
Mm-hmm.
And I get that when it comes to being like a politician, but if you're coming into a debate and you're the one that wants gun control, you're already kind of conceding by saying, you know, like, oh, well, you know, like I like guns. And I don't know. It was just something weird that I picked up a little bit on it.
Especially
you picked up one of the major things that I picked up on was that as much as I think David Hogg lost this debate, he, especially for his age, because I want to say he's like, what is he, like 22? He's still
he's like 22 or 23.
He's still a very young man. He has already developed some very, very good political speaking skills.
Mm-hmm.
Like
24.
Him as a 24, him as a politician, he's already got those skills down pretty good. So that's actually one of the things I picked up on.
He can talk.
Yeah, he could talk. He was definitely trying to come from a sort of like, hey, you know, I'm not staunchly against you. We
just need to come together.
Yeah. And they both were talking about
grab
trying
a
to
bourbon,
find
boys.
common ground. And then one thing that like one thing in the debate that I found interesting was David Hogg was like, well, even our amendments have limitations. And he says, you can't yell fire in a crowded theater. That's illegal. And Spike Cohen immediately brought back that actually you can. And so I looked it up. And so what I have written down is the phrase "you can't shout fire in a crowded theater" originates from the 1919 Supreme Court case Schenck versus United States. It was used by Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes Jr. to illustrate that not all speech is protected under the First Amendment, especially if it creates a clear and present danger. However, this case was later partially overturned by Brandenburg v. Ohio in 1969, which limited the scope of banned speech to that which is directed to and likely to incite imminent lawless actions such as an immediate riot. The act of falsely shouting fire in a movie theater is not, or in a theater in general, is not inherently illegal, but it can lead to criminal charges if it intentionally causes a panic that results in harm or violates laws such as disorderly conduct. The crime would not typically be classified as trespassing, but rather would be considered under public safety laws or ordinance against causing a public disturbance.
It's
So
not a constitutional violation,
right?
in any sense. Yeah,
In
It could be
any
a
sense.
local law.
And
Yeah.
I just think that's funny because that was one thing that Spike Cohen said very concisely, because I always was saying on this show that it's not illegal to yell it if no one freaks out. Like if you yell fire and everyone just goes shut the fuck up, that's the end of it. You're not getting caught for nothing. But if
there's actually a fire,
right. But if you yell it and it incites a riot, then your words became actionable. And then that's when it becomes
That makes sense.
When it becomes a crime.
Makes sense.
And then another thing that Hogg said that I actually agreed with is that teachers that we shouldn't teachers shouldn't need to carry guns. And I think that honestly, in a free and open society, we shouldn't have to resort to teachers having guns. Because one thing that Spike Cohen really, really drove down in the show, or drove down in this debate, was the idea that this is a mental health issue. This is something that there's a root cause to this that's making these people actually act out like this. And that whether it was guns or anything else, this stuff, if it wasn't a gun, it would be a knife. You know what I mean? If it wasn't a knife, it would be a bat.
Yeah, but he doesn't believe that. He doesn't believe that.
He doesn't. But,
No.
When we were watching that debate, all I looked up during the show was stabbings at European schools. And 1 month ago, 4 injured in school stabbing in Western Germany. In October, a teacher killed in knife attack at school in France. In November, riots erupt in Dublin after children are stabbed. In October, teacher killed in France, school stabbing. In November, Catholic school teacher students hospitalized after Dublin stabbing. And now some of these might be the same instances, but there are still people with mental health issues in these other countries that are acting out and doing these things. And yes, a gun is way more deadly and way more destructive. I'm not afraid to admit that as even someone who supports guns. But there is obviously something deeper, because they also bring up how gun murders and gun crime in our country are still trending down, but suicides are trending up.
they're going up.
And now some people might be extroverted in their violence in this cry for help, and some people are introverted in their violence in their cry for help.
I want to look more into, because Spike also mentioned that a lot of homicide and gun crime don't correlate.
That homicides still happen, even though
Homicides are rising, but gun crime is decreasing. Is that what he said? I can't remember, honestly.
No.
Is that what he said?
No, he's saying that the amount of homicides that happen have nothing to do with the amount of guns or.
Because
homicides are still going to happen regardless of if there's a gun or whatever.
in the 60s and 70s, gun ownership was at 80%.
Right.
And now it's down to 50%.
Right. But there was also less murder and I mean, really, that right there, it's okay, so we can have a society where everybody's got a gun, but nobody's.
Yeah, he brought up a scatter plot chart.
Yeah, a lot
showed,
of
gun violent crimes in countries, and in the top, it was mixed with countries who had permitless carry, and states that had permitless carry, and states that had really strict gun control. And then in the bottom, also, it was states that had permitless, who had lower gun crimes. There were states that had permitless carry, and states that had really strict gun control. And there is no correlation whatsoever between the two. And it's a straw man to try to say that the gun is the problem.
Well, that's the way so many of the gun control crowd seriously, Hogg was more articulate than most of the other folks that have these stupid debates with just on the street, because
Absolutely.
they legitimately talk about firearms as if they just jump out of the gun safe, or they jump out of the they jump out of the closet and just go around fucking killing people willy nilly. I really hate to use the fucking NRA line of guns don't kill people, people to kill people. Like, it's a stupid cliche and it doesn't get you anywhere. But come on,
But
it's a fucking. We've
clock.
talked about this before. It's a tool. Like a firearm is a tool, and yes, it is a tool for death. That's what it's for. It's exactly what it's used for. Do you use that tool for death in self-defense, or do you use it in an offensive manner?
Right. And like Spike Cohen said, when you want to solve every problem with the hammer, everything becomes a nail.
Mm-hmm.
Or something like that. I might be saying that out of context, but
it was
when
a little
all
bit.
you
He
have
was
is a
talking
hammer,
about-
everything becomes a nail.
He was talking about resource officers in school. He says you create the same state in a school that you do in a prison. And
when there's a person with a gun, yeah. And there's been the SRO officers, I think was what they're called, SROs.
Right. And he says, how do officers treat people? The officer's a hammer and the people are nails. So now you put an officer in a school, the students are nails.
Yep. And he was talking about how with schools that have like not one response officer has ever stopped a shooting.
Yep.
Even though the schools are putting them in. And
but they have sexually assaulted a bunch
they have
of kids.
sexually assaulted children.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Nobody's
And so
it's
that
funny.
or teachers, I don't think I honestly agree with the idea that we shouldn't live in a society that we feel like we have to arm our teachers. I feel like that's a broken society. That is a broken society,
It is,
right?
and it's
But
really
you know
funny.
what? We are a broken society
But here's
because
the
we
thing,
haven't
Corey.
been tackling things like mental health. It's only used as a scapegoat, but it's never actually tackled because it's a tough problem. We'd rather go after
You're right.
ideologies like terrorism or racism or communism.
You're right in the fact that we shouldn't live in a society where we feel like we have to arm our teachers. But to Spike's point in this debate, one of the things that removes the need to arm teachers is getting rid of gun-free zones.
Yeah.
Because that's what he talks about all the time, how there's soft targets. Like if it's not a gun-free zone, and maybe you have a gym teacher or a history teacher, all you need is a few.
How many teachers say that?
How many teachers are in a high school, right? All you need is a few that are like,
That are comfortable.
I'll carry.
I'll
carry.
There
That's
is
all
a
you
few in
need.
every school, and you know it.
Absolutely.
There's
There-
50
there's
teachers in a school.
There's a few people everywhere, or a
Janitor.
guidance counselor, maybe the principal, the janitor. Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. It just when you have a gun-free zone, there are no guns, right? When you don't have a gun-free zone, you don't know who the fuck has a gun.
Yeah, and some low-paid janitor will be more likely to show up to work because you think you might be a hero someday.
Now, to be clear, that doesn't mean you should be allowing. That doesn't mean you should be allowing students to carry guns in a high school.
Right.
Okay.
Well, you're not legally allowed to if you're following the gun laws.
Legally allowed to possess. Correct. Well, yeah, but if you're
Own
super
18, possess 21.
if you're super libertarian, you would argue that
I think no, you
shouldn't
flip
be the
that,
case.
right? You can possess at 18, you have to own at 21.
Possess at
With
18.
pistols.
No, possess at 21, own at 18. You can
For
buy it at 18, but you cannot you can't
Can't
go.
carry.
Oh yeah, you can't carry. Yeah, it has to stay
Right.
in your
You
house.
can't
Yeah, I
carry,
see what
but
you're
you
saying,
can
yeah.
put it in your trunk and what. This is Michigan, anyways. I don't know.
Well,
about
Michigan,
other
yeah.
states.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
So what did
Did you-
you have? I'm up to so I went over 3 of my bullet points.
I was gonna say, where did we leave off? Let me see here. Oh, I had a David Hogg platitude tally. I think I stopped at 8 different platitudes after about 30 minutes of this debate. One of them was the crowded theater platitude that you had already brought up, Corey. The other one is, and he used this a couple of different times. It's the guns. It's the guns. It's the guns.
said that
It's the
a
guns. And that
the
is
guns.
exactly how you know that this young man was not reasonably prepared for this debate, because he goes on. If you remember this, guys, I don't remember where it was, but it maybe halfway through the debate at some point, he talks about these I believe it's when they're talking about gun-free zones, and he talks about how he's seen these in his own life, which of course is anecdotal and doesn't actually matter, but anecdotes are data points, as we know, so we'll take them a little bit seriously here. Where he's seen interactions between people where if one of them had a gun, the situation could have obviously been dangerous and deadly. You remember when he was talking about that stuff?
Yeah, kind of. And it was like, you don't know though. You can't say that.
Where if there's a shop, there's a shop owner and he says that somebody's breaking a rule in his shop, that guy might get mad, and if he had a gun, he might pull it out and shoot somebody.
Yeah.
But hold on, Bell. What does that say? It's not the guns. He's admitting he's admitting himself that it's the person and not the gun.
See, not only that point, how bold is he to assume that doesn't happen every day?
Right.
Already, like, come on. As if
Also
80% of shop owners already are not strapped. That's crazy.
Yeah, maybe not in like upscale, pretentious neighborhoods, but any neighborhood I'm usually trying.
Nobody wants to get in a shootout.
That was maybe the only point during the debate where I was disappointed with Spike that he didn't point that out. And I know they actually did a really good job of doing a sort of Oxford style debate where it was like, you got so much time. And maybe Spike didn't feel like he had enough time to bring that up. So I guess I'll give him the benefit of the doubt there. But the only time
until about halfway through, he just kept giving up his time.
Yeah, I was so disappointed in Spike where he was like, you literally just made my point for me that it's not the guns. And you've said it 6 different times.
Yep.
You can't have your cake and eat it too, Hogg.
No, honestly, that's a great debate tactic by Spike, because your opponent's continually proving your point for you. Here's an extra 30 seconds. I don't need it. Keep talking. Because, I mean, it's weird in a debate, but David Hogg had probably 2.5 more minutes of talking time than Spike did, and he lost.
How else do you know that he wasn't prepared? He kept going to the moderator. How much time I got? How much time I got? How much time I got? How much time
Spike
I got?
said it a couple of times too, though.
Not only that, he had too much time.
But Spike did it. Spike did it before he answered the question because he wanted to make sure he had enough time to say everything he was going to say. David Hogg did it to fill time so that he didn't so that he didn't look silly. That was because I remember you mentioned that in the private chat during the live stream, and I said, yeah, but Spike's asking how much time he's got for different reasons than Hogg is.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah,
maybe
I gathered that. Well, no, he was asking because he had a concise answer. He said, I got 2 minutes. I got a 1:45 concise answer. David Hogg asked because he was nervous.
He ran out of space.
So another thing I saw brought up was the voluntary gun buybacks.
Okay.
And the idea of voluntary gun buybacks, like if it's voluntary, sure. If you really want to just get rid of your guns so bad that you go and sell it to the government, fine. I don't give a shit. But if it stops at the voluntary thing.
But Spike had a great point about that too, where he's like, it's not a buyback. You didn't buy the gun from the government.
That's true, yeah.
It's not a buyback. You're selling your gun to. But if you also didn't have such strict laws on sale, right? If somebody because that's what David Hogg said in the debate. He goes, if somebody gets a firearm handed down to them, maybe they don't want it. Like, that's fine. Like, you don't want a gun in your home.
Yeah.
You don't have to
but
have
that's
one.
pretty much where I'm at. But at the same time,
you should just be able to sell it. If you were just able to sell it.
Gun buybacks are the worst thing.
But they've never proven to do anything. Yeah,
Listen,
they've never proven anything to lower any crime or anything.
That
if someone wants to make a quick buck and sell their gun to the government and like virtue signal on social media that they took a gun off the street and they watched some bulldozer running it over, then good on them.
No. That's not what happens. That is absolutely not what happens. Actually, NPR dropped an article, it was about a year ago, about why gun buybacks are extremely bad.
That's right, because they reuse them and sell them to fucking
resell all the parts to manufacturers. Manufacturers take those parts, make brand new guns, and then sell them to the same assholes that these people are.
That's true. That is something that happens in America. These gun buyback programs, they take the guns and just resell them to put them back on the market. They don't destroy them. Australia destroyed them.
Australia destroyed them.
America doesn't.
No.
And then you know what you can also do in a voluntary gun buyback when it's like the super ominous thing where it's like bring in any gun, we don't care. We just run up to Home Depot, buy a couple mouse traps, buy some galvanized piping, and you just tape them together.
Make a Fallout Boy.
You make a boomstick. Yeah, you make a boomstick and you go and
Make a
turn
fucking
15
Fallout gun.
of them in for $500 a pop.
What did you guys think about the discussion on ghost guns?
I
The
literally
and
probably
the
just
libertarian
got fucking in trouble because I just told you how to make one.
it doesn't matter because you could look that up online. So what does it matter? But like a lot of ghost guns now are 3D printed. I mean, it's these 3D printers.
And you know what's interesting about that is the ATF tried to outlaw that, but that it's funny because the 3D printing stuff, because it's you download the PDF files offline, which if the ATF's listening, I'm sure they've looked at all my shit. They know that I haven't because I don't need to do that because I
don't have a 3D printer. I wish I did.
Guns. I do have one.
Still.
I have one.
Are they kind of expensive still, or have they gone
you
down?
You can get a cheap one that does like a 6x6 box. Yeah, $250. Yeah, I made a bunch of cool ass little Star Wars X wings and TIE interceptors
the thing about the 3D printing guns is you still have to buy actual gun parts. So
yeah, all you can do is print like the plastic parts, like the lower. Now you can print illegal parts.
You still have to buy a receiver. You still have to buy all that shit. You still have to buy a barrel. So like,
yeah, you can't 3D print a barrel. Anyone who tries to do that is they're only a danger to themselves.
Right. So the most commonly printed 3D gun is called an FGC9. Fuck gun control 9mm. You guys can look that up, YouTube it. It's actually a beautiful, beautiful thing. But it takes Glock magazines. It's a Glock barrel.
The part that the receiver that comes with the serial number, you still have to buy.
You can also buy you can print single-use 9mm revolvers. It's basically you print it, you put the bullet in, and then you put the two parts together, and once you fire it, the gun's done. But you could print 100 of them. And
I would not trust that for the life of me to try to shoot something that's
people shoot them all the time.
So you mean almost like no?
I don't think I could. I don't think I could print that on my DaVinci 2.0. Okay,
I might sound like an idiot. I might sound like an idiot because I'm not as up on guns as you guys are, but like what I'm thinking of when Bell talks about that is like the old school like Colt revolver cartridge, like from the original Colts from back in like the 1870s or whatever. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yep.
I could be completely speaking out of my ass.
Well, the thing is, like, if it's plastic, what's going to happen is that the one round might go through the barrel, but it's like trying to use, like, you know how like when you buy fireworks and it comes with the cardboard tube. And it comes with 6 shots. It's really only rated for those 6 shots that like eventually that tube is going to deteriorate if you keep putting shots in it. They're like, if it's a plastic gun like that, like if you shoot it once, that barrel is just going to be completely done for. That like trying to shoot again is you're going to have a small explosion in your hand.
I threw the link in the private chat, but it's called the Liberator. It's a 380.
I ain't opening it because I don't need the ATF in my ass.
Hey guys, you guys already fucked my computer, so. Here, how about
why you have? Is that why it takes 2 hours to get an update? The FBI is like, add this in there to track him. Add this in there to track him. Bell, that's why we brought you on, because we didn't want to search up all the dirty shit on our computers.
Here.
You know what's funny? I had a guy at work today tell me, he goes, man, having a daughter is so hard. He's a single dad. And he goes, having a daughter is so hard. He's like, she's 11 going on 12 now. And he goes, and things are happening. She's a girl. And so he goes, so I was looking up different things about like the changes that happens to a woman as they get older. And he used, I forget the verbiage he used of what he looked up. He goes, but as soon as I looked it up, all of a sudden Google started sending me all these warnings about child pornography and all this shit. And I was like, oh, dude. Yeah, he was looking up like teenager, like tampon something. And he just must have worded it really clunky because he was trying to he was just talking about it for his daughter, and then he started getting fucking Google telling him child pornography warning and this and that. And I was like, oh, dude, you're fucked. I was like, good job. I'm like, you didn't even use incognito mode or safe search. Like,
Did you like David Hogg's comparison between guns and cigarettes? You guys paying any attention to that portion of the video?
he said that, and then Spike Cohen is like, well, yeah, but the cigarette companies lied.
That's the only point that
gun manufacturers don't lie about what their product does.
I mean, if you remember, tobacco education, all the commercials that they aired out back in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s of the doctors and everybody in there.
Oh yeah, it'd be a doctor smoking a cigarette. He'd be like, "This is good for your health."
It's good for your health.
Well, not to mention, the last I checked, you can't use cigarettes to protect yourself against a tyrannical government. Well, I don't think it's going to work really well.
Besides that, it's not like they were 50s or 60s with ads with doctors in the hospital holding
with
a
guns.
Fucking Colt AR. This is good for your health.
Yeah, this is good for you, see? With a fucking camel in their mouth. Yeah, this is good for you, see?
Right.
I have written down.
Weed's bad.
Hogg isn't advocating gun training explicitly, but I agree with him implying that more gun training should be offered.
Yes.
I don't think anyone who's responsible with gun ownership would disagree with that.
I think more people should be willing.
No, hold on. There's a situation in which I would disagree with that. You want to know what that situation is?
Well, I'm not saying that the training is required.
If the government is what's offering the gun training.
See,
what if it was a subsidy? What if it was just like a subsidy? You know, a tax write-off. If you like make gun training a tax write-off.
Oh, sure, but it has to be privately taught. I don't want the government teaching me how to use guns.
Right, like, and then you get a receipt. You know, I spent $250 on this gun training.
Yeah, but you have to have people out there. You have to have people out there that are actually trustworthy of doing that, which there is a lot, but it does have to be privatized. It can't be.
But the funny part about that, Bell, is
because gun owners are like
anybody who is qualified to do that is not going to trust the federal government, so they're not going to work with them.
Right.
Anybody who doesn't trust the federal government is the guy who I want training me. You know what I mean? That's the guy.
Or your kids. Yeah. Yep.
Like
100%.
You hang out with responsible gun owners, and they are pretty fucking similar to vegans. Like how like they're going to jam their.
You just offended so many people, Corey.
I don't know, because they're gonna jam their gun safety down your throat. Like whenever, like ask Bell, like whenever we're around, like there's like me, him, and Brando, and like 3 other people, and we are gun owners, and like a gun gets brought out around people who don't, because like with people sometimes you always run into people, they're like, I've never held a gun, and we're all like, really?
Yeah, they get queasy. Yeah,
and you're like, really? They're like, we're all like, here. Hold this. Like we're like dropping the clip, clearing the chamber, and then we're all talking. Yeah, we're all talking over each other of like basic safety. This is the safety. This is dead. Make sure you point it down. All right, don't put your finger on the trigger. And like everyone's yelling that shit. You know what I mean? It's like almost like vegans. That's the relation I'm making. Is vegans is like everyone who owns a gun is like super excited to be a gun safety instructor. Just like how a vegan is super excited to talk about how you shouldn't eat meat.
That is true.
Both of which are super, super bad for your health.
Like I've been around people who aren't safe around guns, and everyone who owns guns around them is telling them to put their fucking gun down, that they're being fucking stupid and stuff like that. Like it's
as it should be.
Where do you hang out?
I've been in a bunch of I've just been in a lot of places.
I've been
like, are you surprised that I've been around people waving guns in the air?
The thing is like most of my friends are gun owners. Corey, we've seen each other's guns.
No, I'm showing him.
We've gone shooting.
Corey, we have a recording of you around those people. It's amazing how we get this audio.
Boy, I hope he's qualified.
The thing is, most of my friends, I haven't really seen their guns because, like Dan, you're a gun owner. I've never seen your gun. We've hung out.
It stays in the case. I don't carry it.
There you go. It's because you're not a dumbass.
Yeah, Corey's seen mine before.
Yeah, it's just,
dude. I carry a little pew single stack 9mm. I don't carry. I shouldn't say that because I don't carry it.
I also
own
carry
single stack 9.
So do I.
I think I was
Single
actually
check
carrying when you had yours. I think I pulled mine out, didn't I?
You did. You pulled out your dick, not your gun.
No, this is my rifle. This is my gun. This one's for shooting.
Fuck yourself.
This one's for fun.
Go fuck yourself.
You laughing at what I said, Bell?
Oh man, what else did
Ridiculous.
we miss?
It's funny you actually played the go fuck yourself, because when Hogg was asked about red flag laws, I almost hit that one right away.
I was
but
going to go to
then-
red flag logs next too. Yeah.
Oh,
go
perfect.
ahead.
Yeah, because he was going to bring up like the red flag laws got brought up, and I was immediately going to play the go fuck yourself tag. But then right after, he was talking about how the person who shot up his school was constantly threatening doing it, and how red flag laws would have prevented that. And then I was like, this probably isn't the best place or the most appropriate to play go fuck yourself.
Well, I'll just do it
Go
now.
fuck yourself.
Because it's ridiculous. And Spike made that point. He goes, it wasn't that you needed red flag laws. It's that he already broke the law by threatening to shoot up a school. Like, that's already a law that's on the books. That was a failure of the criminal justice system. And I loved Spike because he was so, empathetic towards, Hogg's situation of being actually involved in a school shooting. I can't imagine the horror that takes place there. We know what it's like just being, a stone's throw away from one that happened here in Oxford, Michigan a couple years ago. And I know a few people in the Oxford community. Luckily, I don't know anybody that was harmed by this but like just being kind of in the vicinity of a school shooting is kind of fucking horrible and terrifying. Just that alone. Imagine being actually in the school. Go ahead, Bell.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that, because there was a point where
I said Bell should go ahead.
Well, I'm sorry. Well, I was just going to say that you brought that up. There was a moment where there was like commotion in the crowd, and Hogg was talking, and like someone was just getting up, and I think like misstepped and like stumbled a little bit, and there was like a little bit of people moving around, and he was in a full thought out like thing he was saying, and immediately he stopped, and for a second his eyes were shifting, and he looked not necessarily terrified, but like he was trying to figure out like real quick what the fuck was going on. And the way that he looked, it definitely looked like PTSD. You know what I mean? Like just, and it's just, and like it just for a second, like just like an empathetic like vision kind of thing where it was just like, oh fuck, like yeah, this kid is fucked up. Like he immediately looked like he wasn't sure what he was supposed to do in a second, and he was trying to really quick figure out if this is just someone spilling coffee or someone dispelling chambers. You know what I mean? Like
and Spike was empathetic to that, I think.
Yeah.
I think he was really good in that way. I will say this. I mean, I guess to be the fucking cold devil's advocate in that way, David Hogg's made a lot of money. David Hogg's made a lot of money public speaking about tragedy porn.
Yeah, but you know what? A lot of veterans have made a lot of money talking about their experiences overseas, and it doesn't mean any different about their mental health.
Damn.
That's fair. I don't think there's anything wrong with David Hogg's mental health.
I don't think there's anything wrong with his mental health, but he probably still is a lot more jumpy than you or I are. If I walked up to one of you two in a supermarket and lit off a fucking firecracker underneath your feet, you'd be like, what the fuck? And you'd probably jump and you're like, what the hell? And then you'd look and you would like, a gunshot would be the furthest thing from your mind that you'd be like, what the hell? And then like, but him, I feel like you do that to him, it'd be really fucked up.
Well, and I guess what I would say is this, because we're getting a little long on time here. I mean, not that we have to get out of here right this minute, but I don't think that I really, and I didn't expect this going into this debate, right? I expected David Hogg to be a douchebag. I expected him to have ad hominem attacks towards like Cohen. He didn't do any of that. I give him a lot of credit. But even further than that, which is one of those things that I think we need to take into consideration when it comes to almost any political debate and almost anybody that you think you can't stand because of their political views. Bell's guilty of it. You're guilty of it, Corey. I'm guilty of it. We all do this thing where we have this overzealous judgment of people based on what their political views are. What I will say that I learned about David Hogg is what that debate told me about him. He got his ass kicked. I mean, he legitimately got his ass kicked by Spike Cohen. There's no fucking question where that's not the case. But what I think I learned about David Hogg was that he might be redeemable. He might be redeemable, especially when it comes to this particular subject. And I always just dismissed him as like I just said a couple minutes ago before Corey defended him a little bit, and rightfully so. I've always kind of dismissed David Hogg as
a Ben Shapiro, a grifter.
Like a tragedy grifter, a guy who went out and made a shit ton of and look, he might be that. I don't know. But I did see some things in this debate that suggested that maybe he could be won over, because he even tweeted after the debate. He thanked Spike. He said it was really nice to, have a debate with people that you disagree with in a respectful way. Hold on. I have
need more of that.
I have the tweet right here. Right after the debate, David Hogg tweeted this. He goes, I'd like to thank @RealSpike Cohen for debating me yesterday at Dartmouth's political union and showing we can have civil discourse on very polarizing issues. Importantly, agreeing we need to do more to prevent gun deaths, even if we don't completely agree on how to do so.
That right there.
Yeah, that's
that part. You both ultimately want the same solution. Your means of getting there is just different.
And he's wrong.
People to come
Hogg's
together.
Wrong.
No, yeah, sure.
See,
but him and Spike Cohen do want the same solution. Less people being killed by guns. Spike Cohen isn't someone advocating for murder. He's advocating for someone's right to defend themselves from other people or the government, right? Conversations like this, where everyone has blind spots in their opinions and in their views, someone challenging that makes you recognize those blind spots.
Right, which is why we give Hogg credit just for showing up.
Dude, like I said, my respect for him went from here to off the screen, off the charts for doing this.
I had no respect for him before this debate, and I honestly expected to have less respect for him afterwards because of my preconceived notions about David Hogg. He proved me wrong on a couple of different levels. He's still fucking terrible on the actual law. He's still terrible on gun control and what we should and shouldn't have. He was wrong about everything, almost everything throughout that entire debate. But I respect him for showing up, and I respect him for giving Spike credit for just putting the whole event on, and we just need more of that.
Yeah, no, this was good. The conversations like this are good for society as a whole. Even if you're a dyed-in-the-wool David Hogg sycophant and you don't like Spike Cohen at all, this conversation was still good even for someone like you, because you were seeing just honest discourse about a topic. Race for anything wasn't even brought up until like an hour in. There was no straw mans for the most part. Like, he did constantly blame an inanimate object, but the conversation overall was it was a good conversation. I would like to hear them too in a podcast, not in a minute-long debate. Is what I would like.
And not in an Oxford style debate. Bell, what did you have before we play ourselves out with the final question, the question and answer section that everybody's talking about?
Because that's actually who won the debate, not even Spike Cohen.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely.
Oh my God. Well, before I even get to that, I just wanted to say that I think David Hogg impressed me more than Spike Cohen did.
Because you knew what to expect from Spike Cohen.
You knew exactly what to expect from Spike Cohen, but you also got to realize that David Hogg is 24 years old. He's still on this, on the Parkland thing. I understand it's a whatever. Was he the
Parkland? Or no, he was Stoneman Douglas.
Look at Liberty Twitcher. Is this a Hogg love fest or what? Oh my God!
It's really not trying to, but listen.
Let's be queer. Queer? Oh my God. That was a fucking Freudian slip. Let's be clear. Let's be clear. We think David Hogg absolutely lost this debate.
We agreed with Spike.
Every conceivable
Spike
way.
Cohen was going to win. all
We
of
just
that,
give him credit for
but
showing up. We give him
the
credit for
idea
showing up.
that he actually he was able to go into a scenario where he wasn't in his own echo chamber and have this conversation is what we need more of in our country overall.
But
Getting out of your echo chambers. Yeah,
Really,
Should we
what-
find something? Should we find
what-
something we like about every insane liberal just so we can feel good about
So,
ourselves?
no,
It's not about
listen.
feeling good about ourselves, real
This
quick
is-
though. It's
this
not
is
about
kind-
feeling good about ourselves, but sometimes a broken clock is right twice a day.
See,
And the perfect example of that is Ilhan Omar. When all of the liberals and stuff were doxing people, she came out and said she was against that because she was actually an advocate for free speech and things like this. And so every once in a while, yes, these people are right. And so in saying that, that's it, I guess. Like I'm trying to think of something else positive to say about the guy, but it wasn't. We thought he lost the debate. Like there's no doubt about it. But the idea that he's such a voice for these people that people are going to watch this because, and when I say these people, I mean people who are staunch anti-gun people. They're going to watch this because they're David Hogg sycophants, and they might hear a different perspective, and they might hear a different hear more context of the scenario, and because of that, you might peel away a couple layers, and a couple people might step back a little bit and be like, you know what, I don't like guns, but I understand why people think we need them.
Now, here's my thought the entire time. David Hogg at 45 years old.
Yeah, I wonder where he's going to be.
Yeah. He could be
People are
redeemable
gonna be
because of
voting
his
for him.
age.
People are going to be voting for him. He's willing to cross the line. That's what I was most impressed by. He's like, listen, I'm not.
Oh, and that was
anti-gun.
politician. Yeah, that was politician
Yeah.
speak. I don't know if I buy that necessarily.
It doesn't even matter. He's
For
just
the Joe Biden
gonna
defense.
become more and more.
Like, hey man, I get it. You
Yeah.
lost your entire
For,
life in Maui. My kitchen caught on fire once.
For 24,
Like
for
Corvette.
24, man. I'm telling you, he's for 24. He's a hell of a politician. I will say that he speaks well.
Mm-hmm.
Not that we like him, but there's a lot of sleazy fucking politicians. I
will
like
say
that you
this.
can-
I mean,
you give him credit.
I dislike him less after actually watching him in a debate.
My
like this.
67 Corvette.
I wouldn't vote for him.
No, of course not. I wouldn't vote for him either.
right.
I don't think I'd vote for anybody younger than me. Shall we get to the actual winner of this debate from
Yes.
Wednesday night? Lily Tong Williams.
Yeah, this is the
from New
actual
Hampshire.
this is who the actual winner of the debate is. Not Spike
And I
Cohen,
wa-
not David Hogg.
I want to play the Coleon Noir reaction video because Coleon Noir was originally slotted to debate David Hogg, and David Hogg backed out, which is not a good look. I don't think he expected Spike Cohen to essentially be just as good as Coleon Noir when it comes to this. I mean, fucking Spike Cohen is known as the Bazooka Jew, for fuck's sake. Like, you don't think he knows what he knows about guns?
He loves
But
this
anyway,
shit.
let me go ahead and play this this piece here.
And it's like that's another thing to before you play it real quick. Like, yeah, this debate made me dislike David Hogg less, but it made me love Spike Cohen a hell of a lot more.
Spike Cohen has been my hero for a long, long, long
I
time.
think
He
you're the
actually
one that first showed me who Spike Cohen was, Bella, like probably about 6 years ago.
he actually helps people, individual people, like people that are in trouble, that are being oppressed by the government. He steps in.
And he takes out crooked cops. That's his whole deal,
Absolutely,
which is great.
yeah. He
Literally
hero.
adding them and calling them out and shit.
mm-hmm.
Go buy some guns because the gun debate is over.
My name is Lily Tang Williams, and welcome to my Live Free or Die state. Actually, I am a Chinese immigrant who survived communism. And under Mao, 40 million people were starving to death after he sold communism to them. And 20 million people died, murdered during his Cultural Revolution. So my question to you, David, is that can you guarantee me, a gun owner tonight, our government in the US, in DC, will never become a tyrannical government. Can you guarantee that to me?
There's no way I can ever guarantee that any government will not be tyrannical.
Well, then the debate on gun control is over, because I will never give up my guns. Never, never. And you should go to China to see how gun control works for dictatorship of CCP.
Spare me, son. It's over.
There's no pain. It's over. It's over.
And that's it. It's over. Never in a million years did I think a Chinese woman would utterly destroy the poster child of gun control's entire argument with one question.
Why would you never think that?
How do you get out America'd by an immigrant? That tells you everything you need to know about the state of this country. We in the gun community have been making her point for decades, but sometimes hard truths hit harder coming from someone you never expected.
Yeah, people who escape tyranny are the ones we should probably be
but he
listening to
refused
the
to
most.
debate when he realized it was going to be with me, even though the guy he ended up debating wiped the floor with him too. David is getting a quick lesson in what happens when you expose your beliefs to the fire of critique. For too long, he's been ducking genuine conversations on this issue and living in the echo
come on,
chamber.
Corleone, give him credit for jumping in here.
That's the credit we're just giving the kid.
And put on the same
100%.
dog
He's just a boy.
he does when
He's
he
just
says
a boy.
to people who only agree with
just
him.
a boy.
But he didn't account for the fact that a random
Stop,
audience
you're killing
question
him.
would set fire to his
This
entire
dude's out here
charade.
debating
It's
Spike
so
Cohen at
weird to
24
me how
hours,
people
fucking
like David
hammered on
Hogg,
tequila.
who are
Like,
born in this country, take their freedom for granted and are so willing to
in
throw
4
it away and depend on the government. to
4
keep
I didn't
it
even know
safe.
where I
It's
was.
the complete
I was in
opposite
after
of what
hours
this
club
country was
chasing
founded
Boone.
on. So much so,
Yeah.
they codified the ability of the people to have guns to protect themselves from the government in their founding document. What's worse is that people like David Hogg think everyone ought to think the same way they do. This is just goofy behavior. As far as I'm concerned, this video needs to be shared far and wide so that people around the country can be hit with the same hard truth that this Chinese woman
Corleone's about to
slaps
start selling
David
his
Hogg in the
product.
face with. Because when it's all said and done, the only person responsible for your freedom and safety is you. So when the Second Amendment says a well-regulated militia, it's not talking about the army. It's not talking about the police. It's talking about you and I. I am the militia. You are the militia. And together, we are the militia. And as a result of this brave woman slaughtering David Hogg on that stage, right now on shop.mrcorleonenoir.com.
Hey, here we go. This is where
Corleone.
Corleone. This is where Corleone
Corleone Noir.
Starts
for
to
Liberty
sell out.
Twitcher. Liberty Twitcher asked, "Who is that guy?"
Oh, you don't know who Corleone is? Oh, he's put a fucking knife in the back of all of the
Champs
only
here.
Only white people are gun nuts. He's great. He's a little over the top sometimes, but I like Corleone a
That's
lot.
what kills me, man. It's like most of the gun control laws are inherently racist.
Yeah, and that's
I would say
one
all of the gun control laws are inherently
That's one of
racist.
Corleone Noir's biggest advocacy points is that he points that stuff out all the time. Gun control laws are racist. They have
And
always
the
been
strictest
racist.
gun control laws are in communities that are minorities.
when was the first gun control law signed?
I don't
I think it was like the 1800s with to do with slaves.
Well,
I'm sure it was.
Yeah, well, they
Gotta keep the
But
guns out of
Reagan
the hands of the blacks.
Reagan himself was one of the ones that banned long arms and stuff like that in California because the Black Panthers who were fighting for their rights
Black
to just
Panthers.
be able to drink out of the same goddamn drinking fountain as you or I, were as
Black
foreign as
Panthers
that
were-
sounds today, when they were arming themselves with guns to protect themselves from a tyrannical state because of the base of their color.
Yep.
The government stepped in and said no.
Actually,
And Reagan signed some of the gun control laws in one of the strictest gun control law states in the country, a Republican, and then sold them to a bunch of brown people in the South, which helped the drug crime with what was that? Not Iran. Was it Iran Contra?
Yeah.
That was the one where they
No,
were
that was
selling
after.
guns.
That was after.
What was the one that he was a part of?
Uh,
Not Fast and Furious. Fast and Furious was the 90s.
Obama. That was Obama.
Iran
wasn't it?
Contra. Iran Contra, I think, is Reagan. Look that up real quick, Bell.
I don't know. That's 70. That was 70s, wasn't it?
There was something that he was a part of. He was selling.
Yeah, that was like Nicaragua. It was like the whole Nicaragua thing. wasn't
Yeah.
it?
Because America loves doing coups.
Ronald Reagan sold.
Oh, you might. Yeah, no, you're
Ronald
right.
Reagan allegedly concealed that the United States had sold weapons to the Islamic Republic of Iran.
Yeah. Yep.
In 1986. Yeah. That's you were correct, Corey. Yeah. Anyway, Lily Tong Williams. What I didn't realize is that she's running for Congress in New Hampshire, which I guess makes sense. She probably asked this question and did this to boost her campaign love, which is a little bit dishonest, but doesn't make her wrong at all. She's still 100% correct. Do you guys want to see her campaign ad? Corey's seen it already. Belle, have you seen this yet?
I haven't. I didn't even know she was running.
I am. Yeah, you didn't know that. I'm going to play her campaign ad real quick.
Please do.
And then I got a boogie.
Yeah.
I bet you do. Oh, we don't want that.
The other one.
You got stuff to do. Here we go. Here she is. Here's Lily. Share her on here. Is she up there? Oh, she's not up there. What the hell? There we go. Add to stage. There we go. Here's Lily. Here's her campaign ad to keep the American dream alive.
I'm Lily Tang Williams. I was born in China to illiterate working class parents, suffered under Mao's Cultural Revolution and the communist dictatorship.
She's real.
I wanted freedom.
Yeah.
America was my promised land. I was 23 when I fled tyranny. Arriving with $100 in my pocket and knowing very little English, I worked hard to make my American dream come true. Today, I'm happily married with 3 children, have my own businesses, and live in the grand state where the spirit of liberty resides. My concern is that my children and grandchildren will not have the opportunities I had. I see the shadow of authoritarianism cast by politicians who have locked us down, closed small businesses, inflate our money, and mortgage our children's future. I saw it all before in China. The division of society, silencing dissident voices, and taking away parental rights, the indoctrination of youth, endless government mandates and control. People are losing their rights to make a living and to make their own life choices. Are you worried yet? I am. I fear that the country I love is becoming like the country I left. That is why I'm running for Congress. It is time for the majority to speak up, defend our country from the radical left, and keep the American dream alive for our children. My name is Lily Tang Williams. I'm an American citizen by choice, running for Congress in New Hampshire's 2nd Congressional District. And please, donate, volunteer, and vote for me. I will be honored to serve people of New Hampshire.
So I got a joke, and this is really only for Belle, because no one else is going to get this joke and for the city of Sterling Heights. But why does New Hampshire get Lily Tang Williams and we get fucking Jasmine Early?
I don't know what that means either.
Her.
Ooh, this girl?
No, not Jasmine.
Lily?
No,
not Jasmine Early.
I love Lily Tang Williams.
Yeah, she's great. She's great. I mean, it's so interesting, right? Because you heard some of the things that she said in that campaign ad of like, you know, fighting against the radical left. And like, you'll have like the Morning Joe style MSNBC people hear just that line and go, oh, well, she must be a radical right-wing fascist piece of shit. And it's just like, no, she literally told you why she's running and what she wants to do. Everything within that campaign ad, it was just absolute honesty to me. And
she lived the life you want to live.
Yeah, she lived a life that you. But that's what's so frustrating about the shit libs is they don't think that that's where this is headed. They don't think, and I'm not the kind of person who's as worried maybe as somebody like Lily Tang Williams is, and understandably so because she's lived through it already. I get it. I'm not like upset with her for being more worried than me. I think we have a better chance to stop it. I think common sense eventually will win out.
Yeah.
But I understand her concern, and I would probably gladly vote for somebody like her if she were running in my district. And so, like, what she said in the debate was probably to boost her political cachet.
Good.
But she still isn't, even if she didn't do it in good faith. Let's just take the worst case scenario. Like, she didn't do that in good faith, right? She's
Okay.
still right.
Like it was like a sort of a psyop type.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like,
She's still right. It doesn't make her any less right.
It's not a Marjorie Taylor Greene situation or a Boebert situation when you're going in there and saying something to sensationalize something. She went in there, asked a very direct question, had an answer, and I mean, they cut her off after a minute, but
but the only thing that concerns me is now the question that she asked of, can you guarantee me that the United States government, the gun control government, will never become tyrannical? Obviously, the answer is you can never guarantee that, which is exactly what David Hogg said. He had no other answer. You wouldn't expect him to have any other answer. It's not really on him for having to answer the question that way. At least he was honest. At least he was honest and said, yeah, there's no way I can guarantee that. I have a feeling that question now is going to be used as some sort of like goofy trope. It's going to be misused.
And it's funny you say that too, right?
Because it's so good. Yeah, go ahead.
It's funny you say that too, right? Because a lot of liberals, like when they talk about Trump, especially the Democratic Party, how like Trump is the tyrant. He's coming in to take over the country and is authoritarian, strong arm everyone and take their rights away.
And let's be clear, he very well may be. Like, I mean,
but if they truly believe that, why would they be disarming themselves?
Oh, that's a good question. I like that. I like that a lot. That's interesting. That's interesting. No, that's why you have to fight against him with the justice system.
Damn.
That's why you have to fight. That's why you have to fight against him with the justice system.
He's going to destroy the institution, so we fight him with the institution that he's in charge of.
Corey, one of your quotes that you like: if you go far left enough, though, you get your guns back.
Yeah, if you go far left enough, you get your guns back. The SRA's memberships are rising and the NRA's memberships are dwindling.
Yep. Oh, there's also another group, Gun Owners of America. Their memberships are rising, but they're very NRA-like, but they're better.
Oh, you mean they don't take all their... You mean to tell me you're saying that they don't take all their members' money and instead of just swindle it and then put it into yachts and other things like that, they actually advocate for the rights?
Yeah, they buy lawyers.
The NRA, who is the biggest gun lobbyist in the world, hasn't done shit for gun owners virtually any time.
Gun Owners of America will pay for your lawyer if the government is infringing on your gun rights.
The NRA takes all these gun owners' money and just makes gun owners look bad.
Yeah, the NRA is a grifting, horrible organization. If you are pro-gun, fuck the NRA. They're
going to talk shit about the BLM swindling their memberships and like the money from their donors, then you better talk about the NRA in the next breath.
Yeah.
And if you're going to talk shit about the NRA swindling money from their members and from donations, then you better fucking bring up shit about BLM.
They're both awful. They're both awful fucking thief organizations that use political clout to siphon money from you. Do we have any closing remarks, gentlemen, for this debate?
No, it was I'm glad.
We recommend everybody go check it out.
I hope we just see
100%.
more of things like this. I want to see this about unions. I want to see this about abortion. I want to see this about the border. I want to see this about trans rights. I want to see this about gender affirming care for minors. I want to see good faith debates and good faith conversations like this about every polarizing political point that happens in our country, instead of echo chambers, dog shitting on each other from a million miles away. I mean, I know it's social media, but like the algorithms literally keep people separate by miles and miles apart, creating entire little fantasy worlds that these people are living in. And I want to see that these algorithmic barriers that everyone's living behind shattered. I want to see everyone having these conversations.
And I guess to that end, like, go join social media groups of people that you don't like. Don't do it to troll. You know,
Yeah,
what I mean?
don't go in there just to
do that.
troll.
Don't do it to be an asshole. Just go in and like read the conversations, because Corey and I have been talking about this. Like, we do that all the time, and we go in and like there's certain groups that we're in, different political groups, where it's like we go in there
Occupied Democrats.
No, and we're like, everybody in here is a fucking idiot. Everybody's actually an idiot in here. Like, you're gonna find that, but then every once in a while you'll run into one where there's like, it's not necessarily good faith debates, but like you'll get a little bit from each side, and you'll roll in there and be like, there's something that I didn't really think about that way. And here's the reason why I say that. I guess this is what I'll close with. I don't know that everybody that listens to our show knows this, but I used to be a pretty staunch progressive. And in some ways, I still am in certain ethical realms. I still am, but I've grown into understanding. I guess what it started with was me starting to legitimately listen to people with more conservative views and disagreeing with a lot, but making sense out of some. And then from listening to people with more conservative views, I started listening to people with more, I guess what you would call libertarian views. And at the end of the day, when I weighed all three of those out, libertarianism was the one that just made the most sense to me. Because
I'm sorry I did that to you.
It wasn't you.
Well,
Don't dare take credit for that.
You think about it.
Dare take credit for that.
I tell all my friends.
You can talk to anybody, and one thing that everybody has in common is if you looked at them and said, "Do you trust the government?" Everybody will say no.
Yeah, most people will say no, unless you're, unless you have.
I'm not sure one of those.
Unless like Tom Woods likes to say, unless you have a TV for a brain. But the last thing I was going to say was this, which is that, the reason I came to being like having mostly libertarian values is by exploring the entire spectrum and understanding that I could still have actually a lot of my progressive, my original progressive values by being libertarian. Dave Smith does the best at describing this, where he goes, if leftists could just understand that they're so close to being libertarians, the only issue that they actually have is that they want to use the government to make the good things happen, as to where libertarians want to reduce the government. They both want the same things. Libertarians and leftists both want the exact same outcomes if you really listen to what they're saying. But where leftists fall short is they don't understand the origination of the problem. They don't understand the solution. They diagnose the problem really well. Leftists, make no mistake, leftists diagnose the problem really well.
But their path is solution.
Their causal is the causal part is wrong, and the solution part is wrong. And if they just came around at the beginning and the end of that spectrum, they would understand that they can still have everything that they want. It would just be, as a libertarian would say, voluntary. That's the last.
It's funny. Another thing that no one else will understand except for Bell is like the one. You know who the one who originally turned me onto libertarianism was?
Who?
Maher. Because me and him were talking about something with the government, and he goes, "Dude," and this is when I was like super liberal, and he goes, "Dude, you're a libertarian at heart. You just don't realize it yet."
Yeah. Yeah. No, that was Dave Smith said that a whole bunch of times. Like, so many liberals don't realize how libertarian they actually are. If they would just get out of their own heads, they would be in that space.
Well, because liberals' biggest problem is like Matt Taibbi says, is liberals are trying so hard to sound like the smartest person in the room that they don't realize how much a pain in the ass they are being to everyone else.
Yep.
And I know that because, like, and I guess going back to this entire debate, I knew if you go back and you watch our watch party, you'll notice me coming in and a few times predicting what David Hogg was going to say. Well, how was I able to do that? Because I used to think like David Hogg thinks.
Yep, you know the liberal tropes.
I know all of the liberal tropes. I know everything that's about to come out of this man's mouth, and you will see that if you go back and maybe just for your own entertainment, watch our watch party on YouTube at Libservative. I called out a lot of what David Hogg was going to say, and the reason is because I was there. I was in his mindset, which with David Hogg being 24 years old, sorry, Liberty Twitcher, I'm going to give a little more. I'm going to give some more faith to David Hogg here. The guy could come around because I used to be David Hogg. I used to be that guy. I used to be the anti-gun guy. I used to be what you would call the establishment liberal today. And it just takes a couple of things to dig you out of it. But it's almost like finding religion, right? You have to, it has to be, there has, it's
finding religion or leaving a cult.
Yeah. It just one day, boom. It just, and I shouldn't even say that because it isn't just one day where it just clicks. It is gradual. And maybe this is the first step. Maybe this debate against David Hogg or against Spike Cohen was the first step in that gradual process to getting somebody like David Hogg to realize, holy shit, I think maybe I'm wrong about this. Corey, tell the people where they can find us.
Libservative Podcast is found on all social media and podcast platforms. Our website is libservativeshow.com. We can be found at Libservative on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Instagram and Twitter at LibservativePod. Our TikTok videos can be found at Libservative Podcast, and you can reach out directly at libservativepod@gmail.com. Subscribe today.
For Bell the Bodysnatcher, not so much on the ones and twos tonight. I would think I would actually consider Bell a co-host this evening. He's moved up in the world.
We made him stick around.
He, as always, has been Corey Walsh.
He's Dan Griffin.
This has been Libservative Intellectual Idiots fostering political and cultural literacy. And until next time, we are out of